Welcome to the Sourcify tutorial video for enums. In this video, you'll learn how to sourcify user-defined enums, or BP enums, what happens to their code generation, and how all referencers that use them are updated. Sourcification of enums and structs is free for all Sourcify users, including updating all references to a sourcified enum or struct, no matter where the referencer lives, whether that be in struct or blueprint. Let's begin. Here we have the first person map, and we have two enums, foo and bar, a simple struct called s_myBasicStruct, a DataTable, and a DataTable row item struct called s_Sourcify row item struct. Here we want to sourcify the BP enum foo. Foo enum has a simple description and a color theme, red, orange, yellow, blue, and green, each with a description for every enumerator. You'll notice that red has some C++ illegal characters in its name. We'll come back to that in a second. Bar enum has an animal theme with a simple description. Dog, cat, horse, cow, and pig make up its 5 entries, also with basic descriptions. s_myBasicStruct has 3 variable members, isBool, myInt, and myFooType that we just looked at. Sourcify DataTable is a datatable whose row item struct is s_Sourcify row item struct. s_Sourcify row item struct has a name field, a foo_type variable, and a bar_type variable. Therefore, s_Sourcify DataTable has 3 columns that correspond to those fields. The first entry is red dog, which has a default name of big red, uses the red enumerator from our foo enum and the dog enumerator from our bar enum. Similarly, orange cow has the name old orange, uses orange from foo and cow from bar. Finally, a horse of a different color is a green horse, as you can tell. Now let's sourcify foo enum and bring it into native code. To do so, right-click it and bring up the Sourcify graph. The Sourcify graph shows a single node for the foo enum type. It does not reference any other types, so there are no other nodes in the graph, which makes sense because enums cannot refer to other types. You are left with deciding where to put it, and you have the list of referencers to it as well. Those are the referencers we just reviewed, plus one we did not show, which is not important for this tutorial. Let's set our output to a new folder called foo export and select that. Then click Sourcify. Sourcify as usual prompts for what needs to be checked out, and upon confirmation, the live coding window comes up and quickly completes. Excellent. Live coding has succeeded. Now let's look at what was exported. In Visual Studio, open the foo export folder and you'll see a single header file for foo enum. As usual, Sourcify exports the copyright information that you filled out in your settings. You should definitely do that. It includes basic core minimal includes, the generated header, and it has preserved the enum descriptions from the user-defined enum and blueprint, along with the tooltips for each of the enumerators. Instead of the usual internal enumerator values, new enumerator 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are not really useful in code, Sourcify uses the display name, so you get human-readable enumerators. Also, remember that in the enum we had an illegal character in the name red. That does not work for C++, so Sourcify has exported a safe C++ name while keeping the original display name so that blueprint users will not notice any difference. Now that this is a native enum and has compiled, foo enum can be deleted if you want. But first, let's look at what happened to its referencers. s_myBasicStruct is now modified. It no longer refers to foo enum. It now refers to foo enum sourcified, which is the new native type we just created. The DataTable row struct s_Sourcify row item struct now also refers to the native foo enum sourcified type. Notice that it lives side by side with bar enum, which is still defined in blueprints. And finally, you'll notice that the datatable that uses s_Sourcify row item struct continues to use the proper values for every cell in its data, regardless of which members of s_Sourcify row item struct were brought into code or which remain defined in blueprint. Another important consideration is blueprint referencers. Here we have our foo enum again that I prepared ahead of time. As for its referencers, we have other enum holder, and sourcified table test BP. Before we sourcify that again, let's look at how enum holder uses foo enum. We have several instance variables of that enum type. A single enum variable, an array of that type, a map from that enum to a string, a map from foo enum to bar enum, as well as a set member variable. And they all have proper default values and descriptions. In this example, in the begin play event, this blueprint takes the arraySpec enum variable, loops through all of its members, and prints the enumeration string value of each entry. When it completes, it does the same thing for the mapSpec enum02 variable as well. It is a bit of a contrived example, just to show what happens during the sourcification process. Now we sourcify foo-enum by bringing up the graph, selecting the foo-enum node, setting the export path to our foo-enum folder, and click Sourcify. Seconds later, live coding has succeeded. Enum holder and other enum holder have been modified, which makes sense because instead of using foo-enum type, they now use foo-enum type, which is the native type. The array, the map, the single instances, and the maps to other enums have all been updated properly as well, and their usage in the blueprint graph has been updated to the new native type. This completes the Sourcify enum tutorial video. You should now feel confident sourcifying any user-defined enum, understanding how their code is generated, and how their referencers are automatically updated across your entire project. If you have more questions, please visit codemongous.com for links to our documentation, social media channels, and contact info.